Well,
Right. Good.
I feel very strongly.
First.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, well, so we all sound strange.
The first thing when we call this to order, and we're going to use. Okay, it is 6:01. We're going to call to order the July 13th, 2026 board meeting of Bethlehem Public Library Board of Trustees. And our first act today is to swear in our newest board member. So are we doing a repeat after me?
You are. Raise your hand.
Repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America.
I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
And the Constitution of the State of New York.
and the Constitution of the State of New York.
And that I will faithfully discharge.
And that I will faithfully discharge,
According to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability,
The duties of the office of Bethlehem Public Library Trustee.
the duties of the office of Bethlehem Public Library Trustee.
Welcome. We will have you sign some things at the end.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And the next item on our docket is the election of board officers. Who from the nominating committee would like to present the slate?
We'll do it.
I don't have it in front of me, but.
Yeah. I think I can remember it. So the nominating committee met, talked by email a bunch of times, and the slate, I think, as I remember, it looks pretty familiar. It's Caroline president, Sarah vice president, Laura secretary, and UHLS is Gail, not myself. Is there any other?
That's it.
I think that's it. So
Secretary.
that's the slate.
Yeah, because you don't have a treasure.
And the treasurer is
So we need that.
So really the same as last year, but
Same
the
as
only
last
change is that you are no longer going to be the UHLS rep, instead
Gail's gonna
Gail
take
will be.
over. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Is there any discussion of the slate?
Need a second. Yes.
Motion.
I'm making that motion.
Oh, you are?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's the
got it.
motion.
Then we need a second.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Okay. So, all those in favor? The slate passes. Jill, are you willing to continue your I wouldn't say informal role, but you're not required by the bylaws role, but very helpful role as our representative to the Friends?
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you very much. And Mark and Katie will have the title of trustee, which gives you flexibility to do lots of fun things.
Exactly.
Okay. Before we invite the public to offer any comments and participate, Sarah, will you please read our standard statement?
Beginning and ending each library board meeting with public participation is an opportunity for community members to express their thoughts on library operations to the board. Because the purpose of the monthly meeting is to conduct board business, it is not a time for back and forth debate with members of the board. If specific questions are presented during public participation and the relevant information is readily available, the board will make an effort to address the question in the course of the meeting. Otherwise, community members may follow up on any questions by directly contacting the library director or the board via email or speaking to them after the meeting. We will advertise organized opportunities to speak directly with board members. A reminder that all library policies apply at board meetings, including the patron conduct policy and the harassment policy.
Do we have any public participation? Are there any online?
Keep forgetting about. No.
Okay. There is no public participation. We will move on to our committee appointments. And we will start with the committees that are required by the board, by the bylaws. The first being finance. Michelle Warnican, not Michelle Pricken, I'm so sorry. That is Michelle Walsh recently stepped down from our board, and she has been leading the finance committee for the last several years. So we are looking for some new blood on the finance committee. Who is interested in the finance committee?
happy to stay on finance committee.
You're happy to stay on the finance committee?
Sure.
Okay. Hoping to have at least 3 members, guys. Anyone else? This is gonna be a
Yeah.
really important committee this year.
I'll join.
I'll do it too.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay. The Personnel Committee. This is a committee that doesn't have to meet that often. It meets when issues arise. And I can see that it may have some work to do this year, but was there who would like to participate in the Personnel?
I'll join.
Thank you, Jill.
Also, I'll say last year it was Gail and I. Gail's obviously not here to
Yes.
speak for herself.
We're gonna fit in Gail as it goes. So we will approve these tonight as so that we have the process started, but we can move around as we see fit.
Do you wanna name all the committees, or do you wanna just go?
I should
Because like,
say,
I mean, the reason I don't jump is because I'm on like 3 or 4
Yeah.
thousand committees, right?
so these are the 4 that we need. So the 4 that are required by the bylaws are finance, personnel, nominations, and building. So we absolutely should have at least 2 to 3 people on each of those committees. The other 2 that we have had in past years are the communication committee, which we had last year, and then in the past, we have had a policy committee. So the question is whether we want to reconstitute the communications committee that we had last year and continue some of the work that they have been doing. And having gone a year without a policy committee, if we would like to reconstitute a policy committee, and then if there are any other proposals for committees.
What about long range plan? I mean, that's potentially a committee.
It is a committee. I think
Yeah.
we would probably continue because that is an ongoing process.
Yeah.
We would continue the current committee there.
Yeah.
Obviously, anyone who would like to join in on that is welcome to join. So why don't we do this? Why don't we populate our required committees and then we can move on to the discussion of the discretionary committees. So right now we have Jill on the Personnel Committee.
I'll do it again too. Yeah.
Katie. Sarah. Okay, the Nominations Committee, guys, this is an easy one, really.
I'll
It's a
do
couple
that.
meetings at the end of the year.
So easy, yeah,
I can jump in there.
great.
Perfect.
Another one. I don't remember even signing up last time.
I
Okay,
think you may have got signed up. Exactly.
we're trying to avoid voluntolding this year.
Exactly.
The Building Committee. Jill, thank you.
I mean, that's another one. I think Gail and I were both on it this past year.
Okay, and don't worry, we will slot in Gail. Sarah, that puts you on 3 committees.
Yeah, so. Well, I guess you tell me. I think I definitely want to stay on personnel between finance and building. Can I have one?
Gail was on the finance committee last year. I
So
think she may want
let's
to stay on it.
we'll put Gail there, so we'll take
Okay.
it with that one.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Now, we'll maintain the long range planning committee, which has been Gail. Mark. Laura. Does anyone else want to join the long range planning committee? Okay. Then to our discussion of the communications committee, are there any strong feelings about keeping that, or do we think it was useful last year? Do we think we need to continue it?
I feel like continuing it like on an ad hoc basis potentially, so like, we don't necessarily have. I think we're gonna have things coming up. We're gonna want a committee, so I think it would make sense to.
I'm strongly in favor of the communications committee. Okay, who would like to be on it? Have Jill, Laura, Katie, and obviously everyone is welcome to participate. The only thing that we have to be aware of is that if we go over 4 board members,
Yeah.
then
Yeah, 4.
it is a quorum, which means that the meeting has to be announced at least 24 hours in advance and it has to be made available to the public. So if you do want to attend any committees that you are not on, just let us know ahead of time in case we have to do that. That notice. And what are everyone's thoughts on a policy committee?
I strongly feel we should not have one.
I agree.
Okay,
Yeah.
anyone else? Okay, then we will continue working on the policies kind of as a team and putting them up.
Yeah.
As they become available. Especially as, you know, an attorney is weighing in on many of our policies these days. Okay, so I will just read these off. Like I said, as we move through the year, if people need to shift, we can do this, but our initial committees will be finance, Laura, Mark, and Gail, personnel, Jill, Katie, and Sarah, nominations, Mark, Katie, and Laura, building, Jill, Gail, and Sarah, communications, Jill, Laura, and Katie, the long range planning committee, Gail, Mark, and Laura, and I try to attend all committee meetings with the exception of the nominations committee.
So all that we need is motion and second to authorize the long range plan committee and the communications committee, just to create them, not to seat them, not who's on there, that's your job, but just to say, yes, we want these again for this year.
And we do that in one motion, or do we need two separate motions?
I think you do.
I make a motion to constitute for the 2026-2027 session, a communications committee and a long range planning committee.
Second.
Laura, second. All those in favor? The motion passes. Thanks, guys, for your patience on that. Okay, we have to do our annual board authorizations. Jeff, take it away.
Yes. Okay, so the oath has been taken, which is good. Board authorizations. So first, and what we do is we typically just do this as one large motion where we say we accept the authorizations as presented. There are a couple changes. We list all the attorneys, no changes here on the attorneys with the exception of we eliminated one because her firm was actually subsumed into one of our other authorized attorneys. So Kellerman, Nolan Kellerman was subsumed into Whiteman, Osterman, Hannah, so they don't exist anymore. So just these four. No changes on the insurance broker, no changes on the library auditors.
Do we really need four firms?
Four firms,
You have four
attorneys.
Yeah. I don't know. It seems like a lot.
Can be, though they do a lot of different.
Yeah.
We go to different attorneys for different things, but the one that we hit for most of our library matters is Whiteman, Osterman, Hannah. We have them on a retainer.
Right.
This gives us a lot of flexibility.
It does.
Do you need
Basically-
Stephanie Adams? Do you really need Stephanie Adams anymore? I mean.
Well, we were just.
We
using
just talked to her last week.
I think since I've been here, we've talked to her a lot. I would not want to lose our first amendment person. right?
So I think that
Okay.
I think that
I just
Bond,
asked,
Yeah.
you have four firms. going.
I think that Whiteman does a lot of library operational
Yeah.
things. I think that Stephanie Adams PLLC does a lot of the policy and the specific to some First Amendment questions that we've
Yeah.
had. Romer, we just use on an as needed basis really for employment issues.
Right.
And then Bond
Sean.
is our contract.
Which.
Yes. But there's only one, am I correct? There's only one on retainer.
Only one on retainer is Whiteman, Osterman, Hannah. The other three are on hourly.
So there's no financial output unless we engage them for a
Engage them.
specific matter.
Okay, that's cool. Okay.
So then banks, no changes to any of the banks we added last year. We added Metropolitan Commercial Bank, and that's that CD redeposit account that's allowed anyway. So that's the only change, but there's no changes here. This year, we are looking to, I'm proposing to eliminate the Times Union as our official newspaper, one of our official newspapers, and ideally go to the Spotlight either have the Spotlight and the Gazette as our two official papers, because if we post in one, we post in the Spotlight, we automatically get the Gazette. Because now the Spotlight is owned by the Gazette. And my reasoning for this are sort of threefold. One, and thank you for your question, Laura. One is that Times Unit is significantly more expensive than the Spotlight / Gazette, twice as expensive to put a classified ad in there. Two, they do not accept a purchase order from us. They only will take a credit card, which makes it operationally difficult for us to do. And three, we need a significantly longer lead time, Kristen, correct me if I'm wrong, to get that in there. So we have posting deadlines that we have to meet. And this doesn't preclude us from using the Times Union. If we choose to put something in the Times Union, we absolutely can. It's just that when it's official newspaper, we have to, when we go for something like our bid, it has to go in all of our official newspapers. So when we bid out the house, we were required to put it in both of the newspapers, which was, a significant expense. So that's why that proposal is there. Either Spotlight with the Schenectady Gazette, obviously coming part and parcel, or you could just do the Spotlight itself without the Gazette. So that's.
Yeah, I mean, there's two questions or concerns.
Yeah.
Like one, isn't it essentially the same? So is there really two here? Like,
There's not,
Right.
when posting the Spotlight, I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if you just wanted to put the Spotlight in as the official newspaper, as soon as you post it in the Spotlight, you're gonna get the Gazette. So
my question is about coverage. Like, are there any concerns with the coverage that the Schenectady Gazette gets versus the Times Union, like circulation, and who would see it, and like the people we want, are they gonna see it in the Gazette? I don't.
for bidding purposes.
Yes, for bidding purposes.
If we had a concern, we could still put it in the
Yes.
Times Union, we
Yeah.
just don't have to.
I think if you look in the Spotlight, there is a lot of those public notices in the Spotlight. Like it's a ton of the Spotlight is that LLC formations, because I think they're getting in there. So I mean, we might if we had a particularly challenging we wanted to advertise for a staff person, I probably would recommend that we put it in the Times Union. If it's here, we have to. So I'd rather have a little bit more flexibility with that. We're going to put stuff in the Spotlight. It's relatively inexpensive. So that's why that's recommendations. Again, not a hill I'm gonna die on, but it's just for financial reasons and ease of operationally. Official business, generally second Monday of the month, special meetings called as needed. And then all the financial authorizations are the same as last year, with the addition of the board authorizes payment of certain accounts payable via the automated clearinghouse, the ACH system. So. Sherry, I don't know.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions about that, this is something we've been discussing over the last few months. I think it will make things a lot easier for us and also for vendors. A lot of vendors have been asking to receive payment via ACH. It's as secure as our direct deposit for payroll. And we think it's the way to go. A lot of businesses are going this way, including the Bethlehem School District. So we'll probably do it in such a way that we offer it to the vendors who have been asking first. We have to talk to the bank and get everything set off, and we'll keep you apprised of how the process unfolds. But we'd like to have the authorization to be able to do that.
We traditionally considered mailing through the postal service a check as the gold standard of it's definitely going to get there. And
Right.
that's not necessarily the case. It may be.
And we have had some issues with checks being lost in the mail, and checks not getting cashed, and we have to follow up on that. So.
And as far as bonding's all the same. Sherry, Tanya, and I are all bonded for $1 million. The staff assistant now prepares the bank deposit, bonded for 35. Not that we've had a deposit that's more than $2,000 in years. We just don't handle that much cash anymore with the fines not being there. And then the messengers are bonded for $35,000 again. The amounts of cash being carried around pretty insignificant.
Does anyone have any other questions or concerns about this list? anyone want to make a motion?
Motion to approve this year's authorizations.
And do you want just the Spotlight or Spotlight and Gazette?
It can be.
Okay.
Anyone interested in seconding that? Katie, all those in favor? The list of authorizations passes.
Thank you.
Okay, our holidays and closings.
Okay, here we go. You don't have to look at the whole year because just the size of the screen. This year there are only a couple weirdnesses, less weirdnesses in fact than the current year. This year we had the 4th of July thing rolls around every once in a while. We had our 4th of July weirdness when 4th of July falls on Saturday. The only other super weirdness that happens is when Christmas and Christmas Eve fall on Saturday and Sunday, that things get a little bit weird. But this year, New Year's Day is on Friday, so we're closed that day. Monday, MLK will be open, Easter Sunday closed, Memorial Day closed. That's that 3-day weekend, one of the 2 3-day weekends we typically get every year. We closed on the Saturday of Juneteenth, but again, this isn't a negotiated holiday. It's still a board directed holiday. So we don't close for an observed, even though it's a Saturday, we don't close for the Friday for the observed. That was just the rules that were laid out when we originally, the board said that we were gonna close for Juneteenth. 4th of July is on Sunday, and then they have the observed on Monday. That is a negotiated holiday, and so that's been laid out. And then, but we're already closed on Sunday anyway because it's the Sunday in the summer. A 3-day close for Labor Day, and then Columbus Indigenous Peoples Day we're open, Veterans Day open. Thanksgiving holiday looks very, very normal. Staff Development Day early in December again this year, Friday, December 3rd. It was getting pretty late previously, and now it's back being early. Christmas and Christmas Eve, Friday and Saturday will be open the Sunday after Christmas, and then will be closed on Saturday, January 1st for New Year's this year, and then we will be closed on Friday. Typically, the board, New Year's Eve, we close at 3 to get everybody a chance to get home on the light, that day. This is the one circumstance where that's not the case because Christmas Eve falls on the Friday. We close that for the observed day.
So that we're not gonna participate in any first nights, that's what they do. Would that preclude us if we're closed? Probably wouldn't. It wouldn't be a venue.
Well, we won't be a venue.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be the case anyway,
Okay.
but we have been good because it's not a holiday. The holiday is on the 1st.
Right,
New Year's Eve is not a holiday,
right.
so that doesn't preclude me from going down and standing in the cold at the 4th. The library's closed.
No, but does that preclude you from having staff do it because the library's closed?
Mm-mm.
Okay,
I can still offer it out, and it's actually is a relatively hard sale, but it's not a holiday. The holiday is the 1st.
right,
That's what makes New Year's Eve a little bit of
Yeah.
a hard holiday, because really New Year's Eve kind of is the holiday, but the day
It's the
the
day.
day is the day, and so it's not we're closed, but
right.
that doesn't prohibit us from going down and participating
Okay,
because it's not a holiday. So
it's not a holiday, right, okay.
and it's not that we would be prohibited even if it was on a holiday. It's just that there's rules in the union contract for union members
Holiday pay,
about how they get paid
Right.
on official holidays, the official holidays.
okay,
But the Sunday would be open the Sunday of both
Correct.
Christmas weekend
Christmas.
and New Year's
Yeah.
weekend, so we're avoiding a 3-day weekend.
Yep.
So just to go back up to Juneteenth,
Yes.
for that Saturday,
Yes.
I think we would just want to have a fairly aggressive communications
Outreach.
campaign
yeah.
about that.
So I have to ask, for the public's sake, what would it take to open on Sundays, every other Sunday in the summer? Like what kind of budget impact or kind of a personnel impact would that be?
I mean, we can work up the numbers for you. It's there's personnel. I mean, it's not it's not contractual, if that's what you're asking me.
Yeah.
The closed Sundays are something the board does. It's not
Okay.
it's not a
It's
contract.
not a contract.
It's a money thing.
Right, you have to bring people in, obviously, you have to open up, there's physical plant costs,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
And could you, I would like to see that actually, if you could, like, not every week, but every other week.
Okay.
You could put together a
I
draft
can work on
estimate,
that.
you know,
Can I ask what the thought process, like why every other week?
Well, I've got some complaints about Sundays generally, and the every other week is like the save on money. I mean, okay, well, ultimately the constituents want to open every Sunday. But but I thought maybe a way to back off the hours or something to make
Yeah.
it cheaper.
I'm happy to look at it. I'm just, the original reason for closing on the Sundays in the summer isn't, it's not a gift to the staff.
Right,
It's just a recognition of the fact that during the summer, our library turns from an evening and weekend library. Like during the school year, we are driven by evenings and weekends. More than half the business happens on evenings and weekends. During the summer, it shifts to being a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday, because it's just based on the school schedule, right? So it's when the kids are not in school, like you can throw a rock across the children's room all evening long, all summer long, and then
Right.
On the weekend, like it is not busy here on the weekends. You know that from Saturday. So while, I think if you ask people if we want to be open, if I said, you want to be open at 3 a.m., you'll get people, sure, I can imagine that they want to be open at 3 a.m. But will they actually come in?
yeah,
That's a question. And I really, I'd be interested to find out the answer to that. I don't think that your Sunday attendance would be that high. I know people would always like the library to be here because you'll have a book to pick up or something's not here.
right.
But I would be stunned if it actually was busy enough to be worth being open on Sunday.
I guess I wonder about the every other week too, it's just been confusing.
Yeah, well, I was gonna
I
say,
can imagine me coming like, oh, it's not this Sunday.
Yeah.
I think
Then
it
you could
would
do the
make more
numbers.
sense to do like a 4-hour shift
Yeah,
every week.
12 to
Like
5 or
1 to 5 or something
Yeah.
every week, as opposed to trying to do every other, because
I'm just trying to figure out. a
Yeah,
way
I'll put the
to
numbers
Do it
together.
without costing a lot.
Yeah, I'll put the numbers together. We can do it.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, you bet.
Right, because at least having the numbers will say like, this is
They will
why we can't be open on Sundays, because it's gonna cost us this much more.
Right.
and I don't, it's been such a long time, but like in New York State, like if you have a 4-hour shift or less, you don't have to give people lunch breaks or any of that kind of stuff, right?
That's
That's
true.
not true.
Yes, because those would be over the hours. There would be basically, if we were doing in the afternoon, it'd be over the lunch hour.
Yeah, or something like that, yeah.
I think it's worth getting the numbers. I also think that this is a case of where we've talked a lot about whether surveys are
Yeah.
useful to us in that the response that the same group of people are responding to them very often. It's a high use category of people.
Yeah,
I wonder, if there's some analogous experience here where certainly there are high users who would like the library open every day, but whether that translates to the community at large in a way that would justify extra expense.
right. It's chicken or egg.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
people are used to being closed on Sunday. If you open Sunday, it would take a while for people to realize it's open. I mean,
So let me give you
Yeah.
my closest example, and it's not a perfect analogy. So we, for the Monday holidays, what I'm gonna call the Monday holidays, these ones that are open 9 to 9.
Yeah,
When I started here, we were open 9 to 5 on those holidays. So we specifically on MLK and President's Day and Veterans Day and Columbus Day, we closed at 5 p.m. That caused a lot of confusion for people. They were like, why are you closed on this day when you should be open? And some folks are like, it's not that kind of a holiday, we close. So we opened, we literally went through, we opened from 9 to 9. The use on those evenings is incredibly low. I think it was worth it from simplicity state, just to be like, here's our hours. There's no difference in the summer. There's no difference on those holidays. It's worth it from that point. But then, is it worth, if you were to look at the dollars and cents, is it actually worth paying? There's probably. So that's my closest analogy where we opened up. We did switch the hours from 1 to 5, which is what they were for years, to 12 to 5 to offer some more Sunday hours. And I think that's largely been successful because I think that extra hour earlier is been good. So because some of these are board authorized closings and not contractually negotiated closings, we do need a motion on opposed.
Anyone like to make a motion?
To accept this draft proposal for holidays and other closings.
I second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. Okay. Our annual ethics conflict of interest statement. That all of you should have. This right here, which just states, is there a requirement that I read these aloud, or can we just summarize it? Okay. That just states our general ethical standards and our conflict of interest standards. And just a reminder to the public, you know, it's watching online, is that a conflict of interest generally in this context applies to a financial conflict of interest of some kind. So if everyone wants to read through that, sign them, and date them, and return to Jeff, we will have fulfilled that requirement. If you don't, I mean, now you can just pass those forward at some point by the end of the board meeting. Okay, our board meeting schedule for 2027.
Okay, so. I think a relatively uncomplicated board meeting schedule. We have checked these for holiday conflicts and school breaks. So the only Tuesday meeting that we're proposing would be Tuesday, October 12th, to avoid Indigenous people slash.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the board meeting schedule.
I'll second.
All those in favor? The motion passes.
And there's nothing that precludes that if there's something that happens down the road that needs to be moved, you guys have the authority. As you're setting your dates, you have the authority to change the dates, but it's just puts it down there so we all know where they are. Great. And finally,
I think that moves us past our annual requirements and onto the review of the previous meeting minutes. Does anyone have any questions or concerns about minutes from the last meeting? If not, would anyone like to make a motion to accept them?
And move that we accept them.
Sarah? Laura, second. All those in favor? The motion passes. Okay. Financial report. Sherry, take it away.
Okay, Jeff, if you want to scroll to the explanation of variances. Yeah. I'd like to do this schedule at the end of the fiscal year to give you an idea of what our actual revenue and expense was for the year, how it compares to the annual budget, and some detail as to the variances on each line. If you scroll down just a little bit more, you can see that our net surplus before any adjustments is about 52,000. It's a lot smaller number than what we've been used to, and that's largely because of the personnel costs and health insurance and retirement. We did have some savings in some various lines in operating costs that helped to offset some of that. Basically, we've broken even. I think the surplus basically is a result of interest revenue higher than what was budgeted and we got some fairly substantial contributions this year, more so than what we've had in the past. This is where we stand right now. The auditors will be coming in, it's this week, right? Wednesday for some preliminary work. And there'll be a few adjustments for payroll accrual and retirement accrual, which will bring that number down a little bit. Hopefully not to zero. Don't know for sure. But basically that's where we stand. Whatever the final revenue number ends up being, that will be added to the fund balance. I don't know if anybody has any questions. We can look to the other standard reports if you want to, too. You can see what our cash balances are.
I have a question on the contingency. You didn't have to use it, right? So
Yeah, we haven't used,
it's in the 52 then?
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
that's,
alright,
we haven't used the contingency. I mean, that's really for emergencies.
right,
And that, you know, has helped to,
sure.
offset some of the higher expenses and help, you know, result in a little bit of a surplus. But you can also see, we used the capital expenditures line much more
Right.
so than we have in the past.
Okay, yeah.
And that, you know, I've described what some of the purchases were that we've made that make up the 89,000.
And I do have to point out that you missed real property tax by $2, which
Yeah.
is quite impressive.
Yeah.
Let's say, right, yeah.
Sherry, other than what we've previously discussed, do you see any trends that we need to be aware of? I think we're all aware of trends for higher costs for utilities, higher costs in terms of certain personnel costs. Are there any other trends that you see here that we should be aware of?
Well, I think the thing that's going to be a challenge for this next fiscal year and moving forward, are salaries. The amount of increases for the staff have really exceeded the increase in the levy. So if we're getting about a 2% increase in the levy and paying out 3.5% in salaries, I mean, the math is easy. You know, we're spending more than the revenue that we're getting in. So I think that's going to be a challenge. Looking at staffing positions and attrition. I mean, there hasn't been much, but if there is, that's probably something we're going to have to really look at to try to control salary costs. Other than that, there's not a lot that we can really control. I mean, we can't really control utilities. We can control library materials, but that's not something that's very popular. I mean, that's the purpose of our existence. We want to be able to provide the materials that patrons are looking for. You know, we continue to budget for capital expenditures and contingency. If we hold back a little bit on making some capital purchases, there'll be some savings there. That's sort of a natural cushion, I guess, in the budget, because we don't have to make those purchases, but you know, it's something that we want to continue to replace equipment that needs to be replaced. We don't want to fall too far behind.
Okay, but otherwise, this is largely what we have discussed.
Right. I
And
mean, I don't think there's any surprises here. Every month, you know, I've been reporting that we're right on budget with salaries. You can see we're, you know, $5,000 under budget on a almost $2.8 million budget. That's pretty good. You know, the story has been salaries, retirement, and health insurance. That's been, you know.
I think board is on notice that those are all things that we need to continue to think about for this coming year. Those will be, how to manage those is certainly a board priority
Right.
moving forward.
I don't know if anybody has any questions about any particular lines. They'd like a little bit more of an explanation, or if you look at the you know, the detail of expenses and subsequent report, in the subsequent report of the cash balances, you can see where we, you know, our cash is declining because we're at the end of the fiscal year. And that cash balance is pretty close to what our fund balance is. And that's what we have to rely on for the next 3 or 4 months until property tax revenue comes in.
Again, for the public that is watching online, our fund balance has 2 purposes. We keep reserves for a period of our fiscal year during which we do not have our tax funding. We generally get that in October. So from now until October, we do not have those tax funds coming in as cash. So we keep a certain amount on reserve to make sure that we have the operational funds for the library that is all paid back once those tax funds come in. And the other purpose of this fund reserve is to fund capital projects, including some that we will be discussing later in today's board meeting. So the expenses that we are discussing later are not coming out of the operational budget. They are as intended coming out of the capital fund. If no one has any other questions, would anyone like to make a motion to accept the financial report?
Make a motion to accept the financial.
I'll second.
Jill, all those in favor? The motion is passed. Thank you, Sherry, as always. For your extremely accurate, again, $2, that's impressive. Okay, Jeff, our personnel report.
It's gonna be a pretty unexciting one. I'm not asking for anything, so we have no personnel actions requested. Everything else is moving along. Those are the positions that have been either approved to fill or we're gonna hold. Those are going along right now. These are the help positions down here. That's it. That's a no. Do just something new.
Even though there are no actions, do we still need to accept this?
Just note it.
Okay. On to the director's.
Director's report time. Okay, a second, I'll get this back to fill in the screen. You've got sideways pieces of paper and upside down, and then I'm gonna adjust this for you so you can read it. Okay, so just to bring you up to date on the boiler, the never ending boiler project, we are so close. Train and BPI met with Kevin, who is our head of maintenance, to figure out the punch list items and to get that boiler all the way done. We are holding back the final 10% of the project until that's completed. So BPI is motivated to get that finished. They'd love to stop that. There was some communication, there's wires run, and there's just, the boiler is in and functioning like it's a boiler. It does its job. It's the connection to our building management automation system that has to be done through Train, but we have a relationship with Train. They do our HVAC maintenance. This is a relationship between our contractor and Train where they finish the setup of this. And so we're keeping those two things very separate, even though some of the workers are the same workers, they're familiar with our system, but they're working for BPI right now, doing that integration. So when that's all said and done and our architect and engineer is happy that it's completed, he'll authorize that final payment, and then that payment will come here and you guys will see that and you will know that there's a closeout, and then there's a bunch of closeout things that I have to do with the Department of Labor and everything else to get that fully put to bed. Man, I'm hoping that happens before the snow flies out. So, but there's really nothing left for us to do on this. It's we continue to check in, we talk to our engineers, and we push where we can to get this buttoned up. So that's where we are. We'll talk about the 59 Borthwick demolition. Just for the record, the bids were published, advertised. We had a pretty big walkthrough where contractors were invited to come in, tour the property, come and ask their questions. And then ultimately, 3 timely bids were received, and the low bidder has been recommended by architect, and those documents are lower down in the board packet. We'll talk about that later. And then we worked, just this has to deal a little bit with the Borthwick demolition project. The admin team, we worked working closely with the Friends of the Library to coordinate the desire for a shed to store book sale items and related material. And so anyway, that's all I got. Youth services, lots of great stuff, but this is the June report. So our programs for July have started, but this is all the pre-work for summer reading program. A lot of visits, a lot of outreach this month, working with the schools and getting people prepared for that. We do have a new partnership with the Del Mar Farmers Market, where in the past we've held our mobile library at several times during the year at the farmers market. But this year we actually, on some occasions, are providing story times at the market, which is a new thing for us there. And then some activities, some scavenger hunt kind of activities at the farmers market. So that's fun. We also participated in the Super Story Party at the New York State Museum. I'm actually quite pleased to see the State Library is embracing their not just research library aspect of their nature. I think some of this may have to do with the revamp of the State Museum and just trying to create some excitement that we want to go down and participate in some of these larger events, even not in the Bethlehem School District, but a lot of our patrons were down there participating in that. It's a good place for us to meet them. So happy to do that. And the theme for this summer is Unearth a Story. We've redone the truck is now painted up like something from Jurassic Park for the summer. I'm apparently Dr. Grant, as we know, we just lost that actor today. And the desk is put together as one of the trucks from Jurassic Park. So lots of other fun programs, which you can read about here. Good stuff. We had a great parachute story time. So much enthusiasm. We actually went out and purchased a parachute to be able to do that more often. And we wanted to be able to, we borrowed that from Upper Hudson, but we needed a bigger one so that we could do it here on the library and have everybody, instead of breaking the kids into two sections, we could do it all at once. So we've got that in place. Continued awesome pause to read stuff. And then great summer reading kickoff out here with Andy the Music Man. Good. And story crafts. So that's it. Children's stuff is great. I just I'll mention the dinosaurs. Information technology. I just wanted to mention that we refreshed the Wi-Fi hotspots at the pool. Some of these things were way end of life. So we've renewed those, because if we're going to offer Wi-Fi, we might as well have good Wi-Fi. So that's there, and did that at the town park and town hall. So that's good. And then you may have noticed, I know none of you would get an overdue notice, but if our patrons who keep books longer than they should might receive an overdue notice, and if they do, you might have noticed a format change in those. So now we're fully on with MessageBee, which is our new software. Thanks. Have to give credit to Upper Hudson and Phil, who's working with Upper Hudson, for getting that all figured out from a technical aspect. Not as simple as it might seem at first to make that integrate with a system level, with the Upper Hudson level software system and make that work for only our patrons. But it does allow us to put some marketing on our notices. So I'm happy.
I recently saw one. It wasn't mine, obviously. I did enjoy the new formatting.
A patron probably said, "Oh, let's look at
Yes.
this." And I know I would never receive one of these myself. So anyway, just another opportunity, another channel for the hold notices and the overdue notices. It's not all overdue stuff, but we have hold notices and these other email notices. It gives us a chance to talk about the summer reading program or something else. So we're happy to have that. Wanted to talk a little bit about circulation. We'll have some numbers down below. I have a couple of graphs. I will try to keep this as simple as we can. But our circulation was really close. We were hoping we could get that last 3,500 and actually be higher than last year, but it was a 0.04% increase in circulation. But still overall, basically flat circulation. But in that flat circulation, we saw an increase, overdrive circulation increase of 6.9%. Hoopla increased 12.2%. So again, if circulation's flat and you're seeing increases in digital, that tells you about the shift in circulation, right? Our new digital newspaper access, which has become really important. So the Times Union, New York Times, and all of those other New York newspapers that we make available to folks are actually very popular. So we'll continue to have that. We'll probably next month start adding that as a statistic on our monthly report. We won't have year-over-year numbers because we won't have that number for the previous year, but we'll start doing that as we move forward. And then just as another thing, we invested a lot in our physical collection. So I was directed last year by the board that they wanted to, instead of shifting at the end of the year, we had traditionally shifted what unspent money from the physical collections to the ebook collections right at the end of the year. So we would keep that, get those material lines spent. The direction was to get that spent on what that was for. So we put additional physical items into the collection, and that did not result in a bounce in circulation. So traditionally, I would have expected we go out, we buy a bunch of new and popular materials. We're going to see a bump in physical circulation. We did not experience a bump in physical circulation. So that I note as well. And then the number of items this year, I do want to give the other libraries credit where credit is due. We've been heavily investing in Libby for years. And I'm pleased to say that a number of the other libraries are upping their investment in our shared consortial collection as well. So I feel a little bit like we're a little bit less like we're carrying this whole thing, which is nice. So big increases to the overall shared collection that we have. It continues to be our largest one. Did just want to mention that if Overdrive, Libby, was its own library, it would be the largest circulating library in the Upper Hudson library system. So the digital circulation across the whole system is bigger than any circulation, even us. We have the highest circulation in the system. The total Overdrive circulation for the system is higher than our circulation. So that's a big deal. So our door count did increase about 1.8%, which is, when we're talking 200,000 visits, 230,000 visits, that's a significant increase in door count. And again, to see a flat circulation, decreasing physical circulation, and an increasing door count, this is not traditional times. These are different things happening with some of these statistical numbers. We used to track all three of those things, would have just tracked right with each other. But now circulation is unhooked from physical presence in the library, both due to because decreasing physical circulation, increasing digital circulation. A little bit of a curbside book, curbside book pickup. So it's just it's interesting. So, and then we saw good Wi-Fi use here at the library. So our card holders for the year, we added, another 1,200 this year, which is good. And then 591 new Overdrive users for the year. So we like that. And then the circulation staff continue to support outreach efforts across the library in conjunction with the Public Services Department. That's good stuff. Here's our summer reading challenges started, and there is an adult summer reading. Summer reading program is not just for kids, it's for adults. There's some really nice prizes this year for the public. We have some themed gift baskets funded by the Friends of the Library. So thank you for that. And we already have 153 adults enrolled. So that's nice. We're happy with that bounce already. We saw lots of teens in the library during, we saw a bounce during AP exams, but during finals this year, a lot of teens in the library studying. It looked a little bit like 2018 in here. The study rooms were very much in demand. We had waiting lists of people to get into the study rooms. So that is just a sign of the physical use of the building, which is definitely there. We had our inaugural early evening on the green in June, which is in honor of Polly Hartman, former library employee and friend of the library, which was funded by the Friends. So we had the Lost Radio Rounders in honor of the America 250. And unfortunately, we did have to hold that inside just because of the weather, but we still think it was very popular. We're very happy with the concert. Some interesting, our partnership with the Bethlehem Historical Association continues. We had some nice attendance there, and we have those programs are all up on our YouTube page as well. Competitive puzzling continues apace, along with programs like that. Our Mahjong program continue to be very popular. So those are things that we watch. Lots of other good programs that you can read about. Our virtual only programs continue to see good investment. I will just note the Dungeon Crawler Carl. They had him on a very popular book series, and they had the author this month as part of our virtual author series. So that was nice. And then from some outreach programs, again, a lot of outreach this month. Pop-up library at the middle school. We went to the Del Mar Farmers Market and didn't just do the pop-up library, but we hosted the story time. I just want to hit that again because I think that's a good partnership. They reached out to me earlier in the year and said, we'd like to expand our partnership with the library. What could we do? And I'm pleased to say the Youth Services Department took that by the horns and is rolling that out, and our scavenger hunt in support of the theme. I do just want to call out a little bit Deanna, who is one of our adult services staff people, is crocheting little dinosaurs. So if you come into the library, you may see dinosaurs perched up on a lot of people's shoulders. So this is just in support of our Unearth Your Story programming theme. So they are super cute. That's mine. His name's Bill. So just thank you to Deanna for that. That was above and beyond for her to take her own time and make those available to all the staff in the library. And I think the staff have enthusiastically grabbed a hold of them. So that's pretty neat. Eagle Elementary Field Day, get outdoors together at Five Rivers. Nice attendance down there. Alex from the Youth Service Department down and participated. Lots of different organizations there. We were happy to be able to partner with all of them and have a great Field Day. And then Bethlehem Pride Festival, big engagement there. We had a chain craft there where people could put the chains of the Pride chain together. We hung that up on our booth. That was nice. This big super story party, which I talked about earlier. And then 3 of us went down and participated in the Capitol Pride Parade in Albany this year. It's always a good time. So I did just want to talk briefly about the Bethlehem Families Facebook account, where we saw quite a bit of comments about lack of engagement on the part of our staff members with the public, folks not greeting people as they come into the library. It's hard for me to hear that. I don't like to hear that that members of our public think that we're providing bad service. I think I'm proud of the services that we offer here in the library. So this year I'm taking as my theme, my personal theme is a good time, is just we're going to focus on customer service. I'm taking this, I read a book a long time ago when I was a library school student called A Complaint is a Gift, right? So if people didn't care, they wouldn't complain. If people, they would just walk away. I mean, I do that if I get bad service at a restaurant, I don't go back in there complain. I walk away and I never go there again. So I am pleased that the one thing I can be pleased about this is that people cared enough about the library to say that they were displeased with the service that we're offering. And I will be working on customer service this year. It's our theme for Staff Development Day. And I'll be working on what expectations we have, going forward for the rest of the year. And I did want to say, we want to welcome a new library page / intern. We had outreach from a program which is run through Cornell Cooperative Extension, but is funded through Albany County. I'm sure, I don't know where the ultimate source of the money is, but we have a youth member of the community who wanted to spend some time working here. It's funded through the county, coordinated by Cornell Cooperative Extension. And we get to work here. So I'm happy to have that. She'll be here for the next 6 weeks. So I'm more happy to have her. So that's fantastic. That's a new program. And then I gave a tour to Chris Sagas, who's the executive director from Upper Hudson. He came in, this is his first year on the job at Upper Hudson. He wanted to come in and tour every library. He came in and met with me. And then I also met with Melissa Tacky, who's the new youth services coordinator the next day. I met with her and they are starting, after some nudging by me, I will say they enthusiastically took up the idea of a Friends Council, which is a way to bring Friends members from around the system together. I know Mary had asked for that from our friends, and I thought it was a great idea. There are other of these councils around the state. So Upper Hudson is going to grab that bull by the horns and get that started, because most of the communication that happens between friends groups happens like through directors. Like we see each other every month at the Directors Association, but there's not a lot of opportunity for direct information sharing among friends groups. And I think it's a good thing. So Upper Hudson is the natural place for that to happen. And they're going to get started to try to coordinate their first date. It will either be late August or early September. So that will be soon, which is nice. And then lots of good continuing education work there, and then getting close to shutting up, folks. I'm sorry. We're going to talk about statistics. So that physical borrowing is experiencing a slowdown. It's a slow but stable decline. So we know about that. Digital service continues to increase. I like the way Phil said this. Digital materials, it's not supplemental, right? This is no longer a supplemental service that the library offers. This is our core business, one of our core businesses, and we have to recognize it as such. Putting that statistic about the library, that increasing door count, and we offer strong digital content, but people are still coming to the library. We know some of what they're doing here. We don't know all of what we're doing here. And we have an unusually strong investment in the collections, overall collections rate of this size. So we were one of the first libraries that after Baker Taylor exploded, Phil worked with Ingram and got them to work with us. The reason they wanted to work with us is because we spend a lot of money on materials. And there are still libraries out there that haven't been set up by Ingram because it's not worth it financially for them to get to there yet. So that's just that's a demonstration of a strong collection size, collection investment that we need to see here. And that's due to all of you. It's due to the staff. It's due, everybody gets credit for that. And I think that's good because our community expects it. They use it. We'll continue to build both physical and digital collections while we adapt to those needs. I did want to point out this is one of my favorite graphs, my favorite good feeling graph, but this is physical circulation versus digital circulation. You hear from me that overall circulation over time is relatively stable, right? So we were within 3,000 of the previous year, so stable circulation. Bottom line is total e-content circulation. Top line is total physical circulation. Here's the pandemic when there was no physical circulation 0. Here's digital circulation when we had nothing to offer anybody. This is the digital circulation. And you can see now the digital circulation here is higher significantly than it was during the height of the pandemic. That just shows you how high the demand is for digital materials. And for the first time ever, for the last 2 months, digital materials represents 40% of overall circulation at our library. Now, a bunch of smaller libraries, digital circulation is higher than 50%. But for us, where we have a very strong physical circulation, a high investment in physical materials, that shift is 40%. So you can extrapolate this number along the graph. There will be a crossover here at some point where it's going to be 50. It's an inevitability. It's going to come. It's just something that we need to be aware of. We'll manage it. People on it. We're going to watch it, but I'm going to continue to talk to you about that as we go forward. You're going to be hearing a lot about that from me because that does drive changes on the part of the library, because this is our patrons being very clear about where they want us to be putting their collection dollars and how they're choosing to circulate items.
And Jeff, I'll jump in there. I think both for the benefit of the public and for the board, it's important to note that there are more financial challenges in purchasing electronic materials than there are in physical materials. I understand that that is somewhat counterintuitive in that digital materials, there's no physicality to produce, should be less, but because of a number of, publishers control the cost of books, and there have not been as many concessions put in place as there are for physical materials. So as that graph goes up, we were just discussing budget concerns, that becomes another budget concern for the library, is meeting the demand for electronic materials will be more expensive than meeting the demand for physical materials, which I don't think there's no reason for members of the public to necessarily assume that, but that is the case.
Well, for lots of folks that are used to, they might buy an ebook or a downloadable audiobook through Audible or buy it on Amazon, and it's cheaper than the physical book to them, but they do not offer that same book at that same price. We'll pay actually a premium, many times 2-3 times higher than the price of the physical book, retail price of the physical book, which we wouldn't have paid anyway. We get a discount on physical materials. So it is an interesting thing to me that when a book is printed out, shipped to us and processed, it actually has a lower value than if it is not printed at all and held digitally.
That digital line, the community use of e-materials is even higher because many of us have subscriptions with libraries all over the country that allow us to, if a book's not available through Upper Hudson, then it's like, okay, which library system?
Yeah, well, and it's a good place to mention exactly that everybody who is in the Bethlehem School District is entitled to a New York Public Library card as well. So
Queens and there's a whole bunch of other places too.
So
I'm just thinking about a future meeting. Maybe we could do a little bit of a deeper dive about the process to purchase ebooks, kind of the market that's out there, you know, and how, or not out there, like, why is it more expensive? I understand it, but like, what's behind that? And if we could do like a deeper dive on that at some other
Yeah.
meeting.
Okay, happy to do that. It's, I mean, I'm gonna get mad
Yeah.
talking to you about that, but I will, it's a good thing to get mad about, but it's, you know, it's just, it's one of those things where when those systems were coming out, we were, and this library included, we were seriously offended, like, you know, when Hesed said, we're gonna make you spend this much for a downloadable ebook, we were like, we're never gonna buy any books from Hesed. You can't not, because that's where our public wants
Right.
to be reading it, but financially, there it is. So, we're spending, I mean, essentially half of the collection budget on 40% of the circulation. Right,
Yeah.
so it's, that's just right there, that just shows you how, you know, they're just expensive. Now, that said, with physical materials, there's other expenses, there's personnel expenses. Check
Right.
out across the desk, and those aren't represented just in the price of the book, because those aren't. But anyway, there's a lot of support that happens with the digital collections too, and how you quantify time spent by a reference librarian, helping someone figure out an ebook. I don't know. Difficult. And then just wanted to do, this is the post-pandemic, so here's October of 2020, post-pandemic door count. When we opened up, and we're open, and then there's just the door count. So there's an upward trend on door count that continues to this day. It's nice. You keep hearing me talk about the 20,000 months. This 20,000 number is when I start to get excited. This was the first time it happened post-pandemic, but again, we're more often seeing more than 20,000 people coming through the door in a month, which I'm happy about.
And you sound like you're curious about why the door count is high.
Yeah.
Like you would like to figure out
Yeah.
what brings people into the building
It would.
if it's not.
I'd love to know. I mean, I know a lot of what's going on, but the key driver of what's happening there, this, I think I can attribute a lot of this trend here, this sort of from here, where circulation had really stabilized by, you know, October of 21, post-pandemic, circulation had really come back largely. So the transactional stuff was happening, but door count was lagging behind. A lot of this is studying. A lot of this is the students didn't come back to the library for a long time after the pandemic. They just weren't here. And we're starting to see, you know, you're gonna start to see likely, I mean, not that it's negative, but you're gonna start to see some of the conflicts that happen when we don't have enough staff space. There's not enough study rooms. There's an insufficient number of tables and study kills. All of those things is what we're gonna be seeing
Right.
as a result of greater physical use of the library. So, yeah.
Is there opportunity to put something at the door at some point that says, that welcomes everyone and says, and gives them a bucket, says, hey, welcome to the library, mind letting us know? Why, you know, what are you here to do today? Are you here to study? Are you here to pick up a book? Are you here to attend a program? Are you here to do that? I mean, entirely voluntary.
Yeah.
And then we have an other, please tell us what else you are here to do.
Right.
I mean, I think, you know, I think maybe ones that we might not know a lot about, the work from home.
Yeah.
Which I certainly,
I've done it,
I
yes.
very often, when I work from home, will come to the library for a change of scenery or to get away from the lawnmowers or things like that. So I'm curious to find that out.
Yeah. And then end of the year wrap up on our statistics here. This is the final report. I've talked about the stories that I think are the most compelling. I've talked about, but here they are. Our end of the year statistics. That's that. Any questions for me?
It's very thorough. Thank you, Jeff.
Sorry.
No, I meant that. That was not called back in. That was very
It's a
genuine.
good thing.
Thank you.
It's hard to, I appreciate taking the time to talk about the statistics. I know it's a fairly dry thing, but it is important.
Fascinating.
It does have implications for decisions we need to make.
There was something.
Yeah.
The number of outreach events, where is that?
For the month.
That's not. Oh, no.
Total.
That, yeah, 65
Yeah.
versus the 86, that's quite a difference. Was there something that we stopped doing in particular, like some group of things or?
So the town no longer offers the pit at the middle school, so that was something that we regularly went to. It could also just be a couple of differences of class visits, especially at the end of the year. We did more things like field days instead of doing individual classes, so when you're talking about 10 to 20, it's just, it could be something as simple as that.
It just seemed like it did jump out at me as.
Yeah.
My
Well,
son was very excited to have the library at the middle school.
I'm glad we were there, so that is wonderful. We did see a decrease overall in outreach attendance, as well. So it's not just the number of programs, but also a decrease in attendance, but we did see an increase, a relatively significant increase in, the number of programs and then attendance in the program. So 3,000-ish, more, a little bit less, higher attendance in programs, which is good. So,
Yeah, the big wide community events have stayed the same for the past few years.
Thank you very much. Hey, Mark, anything to report from you on this?
I sent an email around, not much really, there's a lot of stuff in the works, there's a delivery contract coming up, the UN agreement, it's ending at the end of the year, so they're starting to figure out like what's the next version of that, and then the annual meeting, they're gonna move up a couple months, try to get better attendance. I thought it was very successful, but they're gonna move it up to April or May. It was pretty mellow meeting, actually.
Maybe you'll work with Gail to transition.
Sure.
Great. Okay. And then Jill, the Friends, which is also a point on our new business.
So I missed the last meeting because I was on vacation. But Michelle Walsh was there, and so she sent me a little update, and I also get the minutes, but I think the key things are that the Friends are very happy that our budget passed by such a large margin, so that's great. The next book sale is Saturday, September 19th. The Friends approved a pop-up mini book sale for January. Smaller scale, but maybe helps alleviate some of the massiveness of mega sale in particular, correct? And that they also approved the purchase of the storage shed, so that we'll talk about later. I think those are the key things.
Thank you, and thank you for staying on as our Friends rep. Okay, on to new business. So I think as we noted earlier, we had the bids for the demolition of the Porthwick House. And we have a recommended contract, and I will hand it over to Jeff.
Okay.
The headline is though it came in under budget.
So ultimately, as I said earlier, we received 3 timely bids. There was one bid that was received well after the deadline of the bid openings. The bid openings were 2, so that one came in by FedEx and so we were not able to consider that one. The low bid was David Fruit Contracting, and free contracting, and their bid, they were the apparent low bidder on the day of the opening. They were then interviewed by our architect to make sure that our architect was comfortable, that it was a responsible bid, and that they fully understood all of the complexities of the problem. And the major complexities, of course, is the asbestos statement of the siding on the building. The base bid is $69,750. The other 2 bids, the other local contractor for the base bid came in $75,500. So that gives me, with the 2 local companies, that gives me a reasonable assurance that that's in the right area for those. But the bid we received from the contractor in Queens was $263,000. So significantly higher bid from downstate. So
That's what it costs down there.
Right, exactly.
maybe, and to transport everybody up here. I don't know why that firm wasn't at the walkthrough. The other 2 firms were at the walkthrough, so they knew exactly what they were dealing with. They took the property and they came in with 2 very congruent prices. So that is for the base bid to have the demolition of the house, demolition of the barn, and then return the property to a grass property. So remove everything in the basement cap off the utilities. Next. So there are two ad alternates. One of them is to keep the electrical services for future use on the site. It's $13,000 to keep the electrical service on that site. There are apparently some complexities with not landing an electrical service on a structure. National Grid likes to land electrical service to a thing like a house or
Oh, I see.
something that it can be inside rather than outside, but it is possible. You've seen before where there's the two little posts and there's a little board and there's an electrical service up on that. It is a possible thing for us to do. In order to keep that, their bid to keep that would be for $13,000. And the other one was back when we were creating the bid, I had them throw in just to put an 8x10 shed, which is smaller than the shed that we actually want, but I wasn't sure at the time where the friends were thinking about the shed. I didn't know what we were going to do, so I had them toss in just an ad alternate to put a prefab shed over there. But that wouldn't have been the book sale shed, so I'm actually not recommending that we move forward with that one at this time because of since then working with. So basically, what I'm looking for an authorization today is for me to negotiate a contract for those amounts with this contractor. And then the real question is whether you want to spend $13,000 to keep the electrical service.
And I think just a reminder, we had budgeted potential, keep me honest here, $250,000 for this.
Two and change, and but that was total project cost. So
Yes.
this isn't total project cost. This is just the contract,
Yes.
but it is definitely lower than we were fearing.
This would bring us in at under half of what we. So we'll be thinking ahead. Do we need two separate motions, one for the general contract and one for the for an add-on, or can we do that all in one
You can
motion?
do it all in one motion. You just want to authorize me to include or disinclude either of the ad alternates. And then, for the totals, the bid's the bid. That's the price. So that's not what's to be negotiated, but I have to enter into a contract with them and we need to get to the terms of the contract and get lawyers, all that stuff.
And
So,
just a reminder to everyone here and to the public that these are funds that will come out of our reserve, out of our fund balance. These are, that fund balance is intended for capital projects of this nature, so.
So the electrical services. If we don't go ahead with that, and then we future want electricity at the site. Like, is it gonna, I mean, that's the kind of.
So the two pad, and this is, I'm sorry to get into the weeds a little bit.
No, I wanna get it.
So it would either be, we would negotiate with some contractor and National Grid at a future cost of whatever that is, plus the future cost to land an electrical service on the property. It doesn't have to happen now. There's no opportunity lost or gained by doing it now, except for that we're looking at a contract and there it is, right?
Right, okay.
The other alternative is to go through the subdivision process, hand the property over to the school district, and then run the electrical service lines underground from the existing electrical service that we have here in the building.
Yeah.
Which is way less than $13,000. But involves a greater, that's not something we're doing on a weekend. You know what I mean?
No,
That's something we're like,
yeah,
oh, we need the electricity over there. Let's, this is.
Involves legal fees.
It's legal fees, it involves the school district, it involves a subdivision process with the town. That is not a simple process.
I believe the phrase is administrative burden.
And there would be some administrative
Big time,
work with
yeah.
that, but it probably, if you were gonna do it long term,
Yeah,
something with that is probably the way to go. National Grid told all of the contract, they really don't want to do this. They'll do it,
yeah,
but they don't wanna.
Right.
So that's sort of with the go away price. I'm thinking this is a go away, and that it was exactly the same price for both the local contractors, like exactly the same price. So that's just mostly a National Grid cost. So
So the shed though is a near term thing and could very well require electric, correct? It's not, this isn't just about, why.
Right,
do you
we're
need
not-
lights?
yeah, we're not anticipating a need for electricity. Yeah.
What about for programming, Jeff? I mean, a big benefit of the green space is that we would like to do programs out there.
Yep. And it would be, right now, we do a program on the green. We have electrical service at the underground run to the stage. we would not have that unless we do this. We had talked about some sort of charging infrastructure, not for cars, but
Right.
for,
amps and stuff.
yeah, well, phones, laptops, amps, for if you were to do that kind of a program, but also just to have some electricity over there. We can't run an extension cord
Right.
over,
Right.
and just leave that out permanently.
Phone, for example.
Right, I mean, we could run an extension cord for a program.
Yeah.
I don't love it, you
Yeah.
could do it, but that's the reason you want it there.
Right.
And am I also correct that, I mean, if we were to use it as pure green or garden space, that electricity would also come in handy for your, watering systems, lighting,
We're not gonna,
fountain, water features.
so this is where we probably have to get an attorney involved, because I know that we are not allowed to build a building across a property line where those two properties are not owned by the same entity, right? So we learned that as part of our life.
Yeah.
Underground water lines or underground electrical lines, I imagine fall into a similar infrastructure thing, but I don't actually know that. So I don't wanna, that's beyond.
I know there are solar fountains out there.
There
so-
are some
Okay,
fountains out there, so it's nice to have. I would want, if you were asking me, Jeff, if you're king, would you want electricity over there? I absolutely would. I do not know what we would want to do, standard household electricity. I'm not looking for
Yeah, no
major
big amps.
anything, but just, I know that charging is a big deal. I would love to take an opportunity to have some public charging. People, you can look around the property and how many people are out here on laptops all the time. I would love to have that. I think if we were gonna do any kind of a program, you almost always need some amplification, not super loud amplification, but that you can run it off a battery a little bit, but if it's difficult, it's better to just be able to plug it into. I'd love to have it.
I mean,
Okay.
we were fearful of this number. I
Yeah.
think this number is less fearful, less fear-inducing than we anticipated.
I think,
National Grid doesn't want to do it because they prefer to run to a house and don't want to just run to a panel. Is that
Correct.
their main?
Yes, and then they have to, I think then, our care is how do we make sure we secure that, and because it's out in the public and it's not in a building, like no one has access to our electrical panel. In the building, you'd have to work pretty hard to get into our utility room to get back there. This panel, it would just be there. We lock it up, but it's less secure than being in a building. I think that's national.
I think, when I saw the price, it made me feel like there's so many reasons why we could use this. I'd hate to not do it when in just a few months. Well, gosh, I wish we had electricity.
Are there any other concerns we need to be aware of about this panel issue, right, from like a liability?
Some might come up to us through our working with the contractor, which I'll bring that back and we can talk about it, but as of this time, that's the concerns as far as that.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to do the contract, the bid, the base bid plus the alternative number one.
All those in favor? The motion passes.
Thank you. Big step, you guys.
Big
Big
step.
doings. That's what he says.
Congratulations, guys.
Is there any sense of timing?
No,
Okay,
now is when I will
Contract.
begin to start, now that I've been authorized to enter into the contract. Now it's contract time and I will get more information about. Okay. But I don't think we're not off our, we're not.
We're not far off the timeline at all. If the timeline was seeding grass by fall 2026,
yeah,
we're still
Okay.
we're still there.
cool.
Okay, so in the same vein, the Friends, as part of our conversations about what to do with the Borthwick property, one of the possibilities has been adding a shed for the Friends to store books that they use for their book sale. At the last meeting of the Friends, whom are in attendance today, they decided that they would like to move forward with the process of placing a shed on that property. Not understanding that there are many details to work out about that, the size of the shed, how the shed will happen. We are looking for a motion today from the board to just simply move forward with the process of discussing the purchase of a shed for the Borthwick property by the Friends to use to store books for the book sale. Details to be worked out later, many motions to come later as to exactly how that funding would work, what the shed would be, whose responsibilities would be, for maintaining the shed. There would probably be an MOU at some point. Like I said, details to come later. But is there any conversation or concerns about simply moving forward with that process in conjunction with the Friends? Anyone like to make a motion to say that we will move forward with a conversation with the Friends to purchase a shed and place it on the Borthwick property?
I so move.
Jill?
I'll second.
Mark, second. All those in favor? The motion passes. Thanks, everyone, and thank you to the Friends. We're very excited about the opportunity to further discuss this and hopefully move this forward. Okay, is there any other new business? Okay, moving on to old business. I think most of these are fairly succinct items. Jeff, boiler
For the project, I'm good.
we did that.
I posted it.
Okay.
So.
The Long Range Planning Committee, do you want me to report or would any other member of the committee like to?
Go
report?
ahead. It's fine.
The Long Range Planning Committee continues to meet. We made a lot of progress on the basic statement of the long range plan, and we are currently working on action items. We will meet again the first week of August, and we hope to bring to the board a draft for your consideration by September. So lots of progress there. The recording process policy, a process update. I'm
Yes.
happy to do that, or would you guys like to take that?
No, we'll take
Go ahead.
it.
I'll take it. So Jeff and I talked to Cole so that since I'm gonna be like trying to recraft what was there, could hear directly from the lawyer what her opinions were. It definitely seems like there was like a disjuncture between what we thought and what the law actually says, so we can be a little bit more direct and I don't know. So I have not yet had the chance to go back and work on rewording it yet, but I have my notes from that meeting, and by next time I should have some. I take that back. I'll try to get something out to everybody in like 2 weeks from now, so we have a couple weeks before the next meeting.
Great, thank you. I'm glad we got the law on that. I think is also moving as some of the issues that we brought up about what you can and cannot do. It continues to be an evolving thing. So I'm glad that we have legal counsel on that to advise in real time. The social media policy, which we presented at the last board meeting, it had fairly minor edits to it. So unless anyone has any further comments, concerns, etc., I think we're looking for a motion to pass the revised version of this policy.
Still have, I mean, I don't think it's worth holding up. I do still have confusion over commenting versus posting, and are they the same thing? Are they two different things? Who can post versus who can comment, you know? But if folks are comfortable, you know, especially Kristen and you, Jeff, are comfortable, like this, at least you understand it and you know your direction, then, you know, it might just be me.
And we'll clean up the formatting on those bullets. Anyone like to make a motion?
I move we accept this policy.
Second? I'll second it. All those in favor? The motion passes. Okay, does anyone have any other old business to bring? Hearing none, is there any future business? Hearing none, do we have any public participation in the room?
Thank you. I'm Robert McDonald from Del Mar. At last month's meeting regarding the recordings policy, I did express some concerns about the aspects of the policy that allowed for seemingly unrestricted recording or photographing of patrons, of other patrons in the library. And then subsequent to the meeting, I sent to Sarah and I assume to other board members some further information, including American Library Association policy guidance on that issue. And I assume that what you're saying is somewhat a follow-up to that. I just want to note that I think the ALA guidance was specifically important. It indicated that that public libraries as limited public forums are able to restrict the variety of activities that occur in the library, especially activities that are not central to key library services. And so the ALA looks upon restricting of photography in the library as one of those services that can be restricted. It has nothing to do with whether personal privacy exists in the library. It's really a matter of whether activities can be restricted or whether they are required. The court decision on which this was based was made the distinction of a library as a limited public forum as opposed to a public space such as a public sidewalk or a street where a wider range of constitutional activities are allowed. I sent to Sarah some preliminary results showing, I was curious what other libraries in New York and the area do. I sent a couple of results to you, and then since then I was able to extend that to a few more. I ended up looking at about 24 libraries in New York, large and community, as well as nearby states. Many libraries, although a minority of them, have no specific guidance on photography of patrons. However, the majority do, and overwhelmingly they prohibit or restrict the filming of patrons. And that included the New York Public Library, the Buffalo Public Library as two examples of libraries that do not allow for filming of patrons in the library. Other libraries add restrictions saying that there must be express permission or even written permission given by patrons before they can be photographed. The Troy Library has an interesting policy. They require approval of photography in the library by the library director before it occurs. And the library director's responsibility is to ensure that no patrons in the library who feel they will be inconvenienced or endangered by being filmed can be included in any photography that goes forward. So I think that there is ample justification or examples of other libraries around New York State and elsewhere who do restrict filming, and that is something that I urge continue to urge the library to do. I think it is important that patrons not be subjected to unwanted and intrusive photography. And I think the trustees are able to set whatever policy you want, but I urge that you set a policy which places reasonable restrictions at the minimum upon filming. And just one final point, one aspect of the policy concerns recording done outside of the building, and it allows for unrestricted filming outside of the building. I would suggest looking as to whether there should be a common policy inside and outside the building. And would just point out that, for example, with the Borthwick property, where programs may be taking place, there can be situations in which patrons may not wish to be filmed in a program taking place outside,
Or time.
just as they would not want to be filmed in a program taking inside. Thank you.
Sorry for.
Do we have any public participation online?
We don't.
Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn? Second,
I will definitely.
Jill, all those in favor? The meeting has adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.